you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K,
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro,
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
the sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, happy Thanksgiving to all our Canadian friends. Today is an unbelievable day in the Montreal Canadiens universe because Montreal Canadiens defenseman Lane Hutson has signed his contract extension with the Montreal Canadiens. We've been talking about it for a couple of months. It's a done deal. The Canadiens announced it earlier this morning, precisely at 10:22 a.m. Let's take a look off the Canadiens Twitter account. They've agreed to terms on an 8-year contract extension with defenseman Lane Hutson. We found out in that piece that it's a $70.8 million deal. 55 million of the 70.8 million is actually paid in bonuses, which is 78% of his salary. And isn't that good news? So Lane Hutson signed to a max 8-year contract, and he comes in under $9 million once again at a cap hit of 8.8 $5 million. We'll take a look at the breakdown a little bit later. We'll take a look at what's signing bonus, what's not, and how many years, and which year he gets what, and which year he gets what, and all that stuff. We're going to do that. But first and foremost, special thanks to our major sponsor, Betway. Go all the way with Betway. Get a deposit matchup bonus. The Canadiens play their home opener tomorrow night when they host the Seattle Kraken. Who do you got? Well, once again, you get a deposit matchup bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account, redeem your welcome offer. Offers only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. Also brought to you in part by Bittt Tibi. They launched their Ultra Lager, refreshing, thirst-quenching beer. Perfect for those cool fall days with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs at 4% ABV per can. Available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. Ultra light, ultra refreshing. Our guest today, as he is usually a regular on Mondays, is Eric Engels, and he's brought to you, of course, by the good people over at Allard and Aimont. Let's bring Eric in.
Eric Engels, presented by Allard and Emmon, experts in heating, air conditioning, and ventilation since 1977.
For nearly 50 years, Allard and Aimont has set the standard for HVAC service in Montreal. Their focus is simple, unmatched quality, and dependable comfort for your home. Visit Allard Aimont to learn more. AllardandAimont.com to learn more. Allard and Aimont, experts in heating, air conditioning, and ventilation since 1977. Eric, I got great news, not only for Canadiens fans, but also for us. We don't have to talk about it anymore, other than today.
Other than for the next hour. You and me got it done.
No, I don't think we got it done.
We did it. It was you and me. No,
I don't think so. I think it was the duo of Gordon and Hughes, with obviously Lane Hutson's advisors coming together. And, there's a lot we learned because earlier today, Kent Hughes had a chance to talk to members of the media. So did Lane Hutson. And we're going to listen to a few of those clips. But in a nutshell, we were hearing a few things. Even Elliot Friedman told us on Saturday night. And then again in his podcast, in 32 Thoughts, he was telling us that the two sides said, hey, you know what? Let's try and keep this as private as possible. Look, Eric, let's put the cards on the table. You and I are not going to hide anything. We've been in the business for a very long time. You know, and I know. So let's just admit it, that, the media was somewhat involved in this deal as well, because, one side was looking for a number most comfortable to them. And some information got out. Another side was looking for the highest number possible to them. So some information got out. So they decided over the last couple of days, hey, let's keep this as private as possible. And if we do, we get it done. And they did. There's a lot of things that happened. Kent Hughes mentioned that he had a chat with Lane Hutson. He also mentioned that they were able to get on a call with everyone involved. An agreement is done where it's bonus heavy. We'll talk about the tax ramifications on that a little bit later. But Eric, when all is said and done, Lane Hutson gets himself longevity. He gets himself security. He gets himself a contract. He gets himself a lot of money at $70.8 million. He's a cap hit of $8.85 million per year. And the Montreal Canadiens get what they've always wanted, a long-term contract with the Calder Trophy winner of last year at a number very digestible to them.
I think both parties win in this case because both of them want the same thing, which is the opportunity to go and chase multiple Stanley Cups. And I think Lane Hutson recognized that and got to the table. And by the way, I just want to make sure if you can hear me clearly, because last week we had some fuzzy.
There's a little bit of static again, unfortunately. Yeah, but
okay. Is it intense? Can we live with it, or are we? Because we're going to get a mic replaced here.
Yeah, Shane Gaumont will let me know here at the Master Control. He's going to send me a message whether or not it's the static is. We can live with it, he says. Continue, Eric.
Okay, we'll live with it, and I think Lane Hutson and the Montreal Canadiens are going to live with this deal. And in the end, I've always maintained a good negotiation and a deal is structured around two parties that can accept what's on the table. Both of them accepted here, and both of them bent to a certain degree to get done what they wanted done. The Canadiens, it was very crucial for them, obviously, to get a cap number under 9. It helps them continue to build. Lane Hutson has maintained the entire time. He wants to be in Montreal long term, and he wants to win. And he helped the Canadiens get to that number in exchange. Not only did he get 8 years of security, which is a huge accomplishment for anybody, even if they're the Calder Trophy winner, to have that level of security after 1 year in the NHL. But Hutson also got a deal that was structured in such a way that he'll probably net more money than if he had signed what was also on the table for him, which was 8 times 9 in a straight deal with no signing bonuses. So he took a little bit less, especially on the cap, which was important to the Canadiens. He probably gets a little bit more in his bank account. I know everybody was comparing it to Jackson Lacombe and Luke Hughes. And if you go look at those two deals, one of them for Luke Hughes at 7 times 9, and the other one for Jackson Lacombe at 8 times 9, there's no signing bonuses in those deals. There's none of that extra cookies that came in. Hutson also got a 10-team no-trade clause from years 6 through 8, the years that he would be unrestricted. This is good business. This is good business from Hutson, who realized he was not calling the shots in this negotiation from his chair. You know, if he was in Noah Dobson's situation a year away from unrestricted free agency, he'd have almost all the control. The Canadiens, who had the control, didn't use it to beat Hutson down. And I think what was key here was communication between Kent Hughes and Lane Hutson, where they could both explain their intentions to each other. And I think Kent Hughes sold Lane Hutson on the vision of trying to win and not trying to disrespect Lane with the numbers that are throwing around and the way emotions got heated. And I think that Hutson expressed to Kent Hughes that he wants to win and he wants to be a part of what he thinks is forming into a Stanley Cup contender. And I just think, you know, like I said, you look for deals where you get one where both parties can accept it. I think that they both gave themselves a great chance to get what they want out of it, which is a team that's going to be great for many years to come.
It's a job well done by everyone. You're right about that. Kent's conversation with Lane over the weekend, you prefaced it. Let's hear from Kent Hughes.
Over the weekend, and, you know, he had talked about, you know, his view on things, and it struck me like, you know, he wanted to make sure we understood how much he wanted to be here and how hard he was going to work. And my response, I kind of cut him off and said, Lane, there wouldn't be an 8-year deal if we didn't believe in who you were at your core. You know, the kind of person he is, how committed he is to being his best version of himself, but also being the best version of a teammate.
So there you have it. Did we lose Eric? We probably got Eric back. Oh, hopefully we don't lose him. Okay, we got you back there. Eric, as you know, in all negotiations, you start at one number, you end up at another. You start at one term, you go to another term. I think it's the Montreal Canadiens really wanted an 8-year term from beginning to end. I think there was some discussions of other terms, but once again, the Canadiens get Lane Hutson locked up for 8 years. Kent Hughes was asked if he had to make sure that the deal would be well received in the locker room. Let's hear from him.
Important to us. I mean, it's one of the things that we've talked a lot about is trying to build a culture here and a culture where everybody's pulling in the right direction. That's absolutely critical, in my opinion.
All right, the culture. Kent Hughes had talked about it. He told members of the media before that. He brought up examples of Connor McDavid accepting less money. He brought up examples of Patrice Bergeron doing the same in the past. He even brought up examples of Tom Brady, for that matter. The culture in the locker room, once again, he gets his guy signed at a number that is inferior to what he could have asked 1 year from now if he would have waited an extra year. And once again, as you said, ultimately, this also comes down to Lane Hutson, right? Because it was up to him.
I think it all comes down to Lane Hutson. Like, what a mature decision for a 21-year-old kid. You know, obviously this was hanging over him. He said he tried not to let it distract him. It was very obvious in his games that we watched, going back to the last one in the preseason, that it was distracting. And the last thing that Lane Hutson wants to be is a distraction. You know that about the kid. He's a selfless kid. He loves the game more than just about anybody in that locker room, and that's clear in his dedication to it. But, you know, when Kent Hughes talks about that culture, you know, you're right, Tony. Like, you talked about this almost all the way through, that he wouldn't end up with a deal that anybody would really regret if it was over $10 million over 8 years. If it was, closer to 11 or upwards of more than 11, because he knocked it out of the park this year and sat out for as long as possible. And, we can sit here and say all the players would sit there and applaud him and say, hey, good for you, Lane. You held it. You got what you wanted and this and that. These guys are human beings. And like for Lane Hutson to walk into the room and potentially making double what Caden Gouli's making, his defense partner, like that is stuff that I'm sure Lane Hutson had to consider in this. And that is part and parcel to the culture that we're talking about here. While we were sitting and transcribing Kent Hughes's comments as practice was rolling, okay, he talked during practice, and all of us as writers go back and we're trying to get this done before going to the locker room to speak to Lane and get everything transcribed because we've got to do our writing. The cameras that were scrambling to get to speak to Hughes had to scramble back in place, and in between, I don't know if any visual was taken from the scene that developed on the ice, but Marty St. Louis sent Lane Hutson on a solo lap, as everybody's heard about right now, and announced to the team that he just signed an extension. And the celebration from those guys is not something that you could fake. Like, this was Cole Caulfield went nuts, went to tackle Hutson in the corner.
We probably have it. We probably have it, Eric. Sorry to cut you off there, but Shane Gaumont, there we go.
Yeah, that's the end result there, that group hug and everybody pumped up. But, sitting in the room after Tony and talking to a few of the guys and then hearing the numbers, they didn't know the number until they kind of got in the room and started asking around. And they just, there wasn't like an air of like surprise about them. There was an air of like, that's our team. That's who we are, and that I'm sure, Marty St. Louis talked about this reaction that you're seeing, this visual that you're seeing being as relevant, if not more relevant to him than a win in the standings. And he's right. Like this culture that they have worked so hard to build within the short time, and really it's 4.5 years that St. Louis is, it's 3.5 years that St. Louis has been in place. And this
correct.
Is, like
it'll be 4 years in February. It's around the corner.
Yeah. It's a huge, this is what they've been trying to build here the whole time. And it is the reason that they will have the opportunity to do exactly what they set out to do, which is build a team that can contend. Because Tony, when you are able to take care of your internal business this way, and the cap is going up as it is, we know it's going to go up several increments over the next few years. We know, and Kent Hughes said it himself, when you go outside the organization, you got to spend money. They did it with Noah Dobson. They brought in a player to support that young core that made those commitments here to give them a better chance. And they knew in going outside the organization with a player that was 1 year away from unrestricted free agency, they could essentially choose exactly where he wanted to go and for how much money. Even if they got Dobson to sign for a little less, it was still more than they wanted to give him. And they did it because they want to continue to give their team a better and better chance of becoming a contender. He fits right in the age range at 25 years old. He did it because, as I spoke to him today, and he said he believed in the culture that was building. He also did it. So Ken Hughes talked about doing his homework on Noah Dobson. Well, Noah Dobson also did his homework on Marty St. Louis and his philosophy and on the young group of players that he was joining that believed in his style of game. He took a bit less money, but it was a bit more than the Canadiens would have paid him if he was a part of their system. And they're going to continue to do that. They're going to go, we could talk about Sidney Crosby down the line, and maybe that is a less expensive proposition at $8.7 million if he decides one day by miracle that he wants to join the Montreal Canadiens. But there will be other players who are 1 year away from unrestricted free agent who can dictate where and what they sign for, that the Canadiens will target because they won't stay with their team, because it won't make sense for their team to give them what they're asking for because they won't be in that window. But the Canadiens are entering that window. And as they are, those are the types of players they're going to look for to continue to add to what's already been built. And they would not have a chance of doing it if Lane Hutson took $11 million over 8 years. They wouldn't have a chance of doing it if Suzuki had done that, or Slafkovsky or Caulfield. They wouldn't have a chance of doing it if Demidov does it next year.
Well, speaking of which, they're looking at, that video that we showed the Canadiens are hoping that, all those players happy for Hutson and so happy that he took a number below market value. The Canadiens are hoping that it's going to rub off on everyone, like you just said. And when it's Demidov's turn in a couple of years from now, they're hoping that it's going to be the exact same thing, that he'll take less than what he can get probably in terms of market value.
Next summer. But, take less, but it doesn't mean that you have to disrespect yourself as a player or disrespect your own value. The Canadiens, who, as we talked about a lot, you and me, who were in a real leveraged position here, didn't exactly use that to beat Hutson down completely and keep it. They gave him an 8-year commitment and a lot of money up front. Like, as you said, 55 million. I had the contract breakdown on Twitter. The first 2 years of that deal, he nets $22 million in signing bonuses, $24 million total. That's Puck Media's. I put it up at the same time. This is a hell of a deal for a player coming out of entry level. Like we talked about, those other guys that he was being compared to, and we all agree. I think he's a better player than Luke Hughes, personally. Jackson Lacombe, different player, different situation, not an identical comparable, but those guys did not get signing bonuses in their deals.
Let's talk about those signing bonuses, okay? Let's talk about that. Let's bring up the chart once again from Puckpedia showing the breakdown, okay? Year one, a base of $1 million and a signing bonus of $11 million. Year two, a base of $1 million, a signing bonus of $11 million. Year three, $1 million and a signing bonus of $9.5 million. Year four, $1 million and a signing bonus of $6.5. Year five, $1.2 million and a signing bonus of $6 million. Year six, $1.2 million, a signing bonus of $6 million. Year seven, $2.2 million and a signing bonus of $5 million. And year eight, $7.2 million. Let's keep this up. The $55 million in bonuses. Now, I've been saying for the last 6 months, I think, I would give Lane Hutson an 8-year deal at $10 million a year with my eyes closed. Well, Kent Hughes did a lot better because he gave him an 8-year deal at a cap hit of $8.85 million. But you know what? Lane Hutson did a lot better than the 8-year, $10 million per year deal that I would have offered, because the signing bonuses, there's a couple of things we have to point out. The $55 million of signing bonus are going to equate to probably about a 25% tax, 15% in Canada, and 10% wherever his residence is. So you're looking at about 25% instead of just being paid all salary, and then on the salary he's taxed over 50%. So he's going to make more money. Number one. Number two, so important that it got done this year and not next year, because this year he signed for the max 78% of the cap, and next year, when the new CBA kicks in, the max percentage for the signing bonus is 60%. So there's savings there too. So, Eric, the Canadiens get the cap number that they want, and Lane Hutson ends up making more money than if he was paid 8 times 10. It's a beautiful thing.
It's a compromise. It's a good deal. And it's a smart deal. And it's Lane Hutson stepped up and signed it for his personal reasons, and the Canadiens were happy to offer it for their own. And in the end, both of them want the same thing, and they give themselves a better chance of getting it with the way this deal is structured. Without getting too into the minutia, the retirement compensation agreement will help offset some of the provincial tax involved in this deal.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody wants to talk about this digit or that digit and numbers. It's the symbolism and the culture that you and I were discussing that is built, starting with Nick Suzuki and a different management group, but been extended through the rest of the players that have signed here at entry level. It's something special. You go back 2 years.
Yeah.
2 seasons ago, basically 3 seasons ago, at the end of a year where the Canadiens were in the most one-goal games in the league and lost more of them than they wanted to and finished still in 28th place. albeit with a better record than when they finished in 28th place the year before. And going around the room, every player that we talked to kept using the same phrase. They kept saying, we're building something special here. There's something special happening here. There's something special happening with the Canadiens in Montreal. Being around this, Tony, and again, I always say this, despite having access to the dressing room for a few minutes a day, I never pretend to be closer to it than I am. You know, whatever's between them is between them. Even the cameras following them nonstop with the rebuild show, they've done a great job. But not even they can capture everything that happens between these guys. But there's just a vibe about them that you can sense. There is something special that's between these players. And I think the evidence, outside of what I'm saying and what I see and what you see, is what they display on the ice. They don't have the superstar components necessarily that are developed in their primes like some of the other teams do in this league, but they play as a team. They stick together as a team. They have built a culture that they have seasoned and grown to a point where there is something special happening with them. And they have a great opportunity from a financial perspective to keep building with that, especially with a deal like the one that Hutson just made.
Pierre Lebrun sent out a tweet. By the way, Pierre has confirmed that he'll be a collaborator on the Sick podcast, so he'll be joining us in the very near future here. Let's hear from, or if we can bring up the tweet. Yeah. Hutson deal started to come together Saturday going into Sunday. Deal includes $55 million in signing bonus. Bottom line is Lane Hutson didn't want his situation to be a distraction for the team all year, and he wanted to get it done. Kent Hughes talked about the deal giving Lane a sense of relief. Let's hear from Kent Hughes.
As an agent, is every time a player signs his contract, there's a sense of relief and happiness to be able to put it, not just to have the contract done or have that kind of financial security. I think it's just to know that it's behind them and they can focus on hockey. Athletes are by nature very singularly focused, right? They want to keep every distraction out of to the outside as much as possible. So putting something behind them is beneficial.
All right. Okay. In an ideal world, Kent Hughes wanted it done at least 1 week ago. Let's hear him.
Que ça aurait un effet sur Lane, puis sur l'équipe, puis on veut éliminer les distractions. On voulait le faire avant que la saison commence. On a trois matchs en retard.
There you have it. It's a good way of putting it. We wanted to have it done before the season started. We're 3 games late. Eric, you can't help but get the feeling that after watching Lane Hutson's first 3 games when he was just okay, and we're not used to seeing him be okay. At times, during certain shifts, probably even looked a shadow of himself. You can't help but think that it was weighing in on him. It was weighing on his mind. And some people and some athletes, they're able to put it behind them and focus at the task on hand. It was probably too much to ask a very young player who had never been in that situation before.
I think it was too much to ask of anybody, honestly. Like Nick Suzuki said, you could see that he was forcing some plays offensively, trying to make something happen. Everybody knows how difficult of a situation it is. You talked about Jake Evans last year. Anytime you're a free agent, it's something that's going to weigh on your mind, no matter which class of free agent you are. You're right, Tony, particularly for a young player who's never dealt with it before. It was intense, and it's intense, as Marty St. Louis was talking about today, not only in the market and the market being as hot as it is in Montreal, but like in the hockey world in general, it being a general discussion across every market. It's a lot to deal with. Like, there's only so many ways you can control your own mind and focus on your own performance when all this is swirling around you, no matter how hard you try to avoid it. It's there, and it's a discussion, and it's happening everywhere, including potentially in your own locker room, where it's the last place you'd want it to filter into. And it's not like the players don't understand his position and his situation. Of course they do. They've all either been in those shoes or will be in those shoes. But that's you think about all the psychological elements, being the player himself, like how he might be perceived by A, his teammates, or B, the public, or C, his family, or D, Canadiens management, or E, the rest of the league. It's a lot while trying to play 3 games in 4 nights, opening up buildings across the league. Like, he found out Saturday. He said the deal was done Saturday and that it was officialized today on Monday, signed. So he knew before he played Saturday's game that it was done. He also said that he didn't like his performance in that one, and he certainly didn't like his performance in the first 2, but he believes in himself and is confident in his abilities and that he'll get better. I don't think there's any question that that'll be the case. I love the moment today.
I bet you'll be the best player in the ice tomorrow night for the home opener.
I like your chances of being right about that. And if not, it won't be long. Marty St. Louis talked about what he brings to the team, his competitiveness, and his he's a gamer is what Marty called him. It brings everybody into the fight. Like, this kid wants to make the difference on every single shift. The Canadiens now have a couple of players like that, more than a couple. And, I can't think of another quality that you would point to when trying to identify what makes up a winner.
Yeah.
You look at Nick Suzuki, you look at Ivan Demidov, you look at Cole Caulfield, you look at Juraj Slafkovsky, you look at Lane Hutson. I see guys that want to make the difference every time they step on the ice. And I'll tell you something else. It's not just them. Look at Mike Matheson from the beginning of the season through the first 3 games, what he looks like and how determined he is. And I'll remind you that he's without a contract. And now that Lane is done, I think there's going to be some pretty immediate attention going his way from management to try and see what they can get done with him.
Your static situation is getting a little bit worse. Why don't we try and log off and get back on? And it'll give me a minute here to pay some of the bills and talk about some of our partners. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, a leading asset-light 3PL that's driven to be different, from cross-border freight between Canada, USA, and Mexico to coast-to-coast shipping in both Canada and the United States. Energy moves it all. They're fast, reliable, and powered by tech that delivers smarter logistics. If you need a real partner in transportation, contact the team at Sick@shipenergy.com and see how Energy Transportation Group is changing the freight game. I want to talk to you about poker, and when I talk to you about poker, I talk to you about Playground. You haven't really played poker until you played at Playground, voted Fan Choice Best Poker Room at the 2025 Global Poker Awards. Enjoy free drinks at every table, free food at all cash games, and daily tournaments, plus the biggest events in the game like the World Poker Tour and World Series of Poker Circuit. And don't miss your shot at the world record Bad Beat Jackpot, closing in at $1 million, minutes from downtown Montreal across the Mercier Bridge. This is Playground. Also, in ending, you also know that I want to talk about Accent Insurance Solutions. All insurance isn't created equal. You know where to find the right solution for you. Accent Insurance. Accent doesn't sell insurance. They shop insurance for you to find the right product right on the money, whatever your insurance needs, home, automobile, or business. The number to call is 514-363-3636 or visit their website, www.accentassurance.com. accentassurance.com. We'll bring back Eric if the mic is better. Is the mic better?
I hope
there?
so.
It's better.
It's a little darker, but here we are.
It's better. It's better like this. Yeah, no problem. Fantastic. So, okay, I want to get back to Kent Hughes, and he talked about the cap flexibility that this whole deal provides.
Continue to keep other young players that we think will be part of it, and add where we think where there's an opportunity, as there was this summer with Noah Dobson, and we were going to have to pay a significant. The reality is, if you go into the open market, you're going to have to pay, and our hope is that we are able to build this team as much as possible internally. But when you have a young group of players that are committed to this team, I think we owe it to them that if we believe there's a hole in the lineup that's needed to be filled in order to have a championship caliber team, that we're going to have to do that.
When you go in the open market, you have to overpay. Because of that, we're going to try to be able to build this team as internally as we can, as possible. But we also owe it to the players to put together a team that, if we feel that if we're a player or two away and you can use some help, we'll go on the open market to go out and sign that player. I think it's pretty straight and to the point.
It's more than that. It's, look at what Suzuki, Slafkovsky, Caulfield, Gooley, and Hutson did. It gives him the opportunity to do that. Those commitments those players made, and they got security as a payoff for it. And some of them some good structure in their contract, like Hutson's. They want to win.
Yeah.
You want to win? Give your general manager the opportunity to spend that money outside the organization. He's done things, and they're going to try and spend it within the organization as much as possible. But they aren't going to win if they don't make moves like the one they made for Noah Dobson. So that is the business. That is the salary cap. And I got to say, Tony, and we should talk about it more. Look at what's happening in some other markets here. Like Logan Cooley turned down an 8-year deal worth $9.66 million a year from a very similar chair to the one that Hutson was sitting in.
Same draft year, went third overall. Hudson 62nd, but Hudson the best player from that draft so far. Anyway.
And the guy who was drafted first overall, what did he sign for?
7.6 over 8.
Okay. Now, I don't begrudge Logan Cooley. He can do whatever he wants and whatever he thinks is best for himself and whatever he thinks he's worth, and he should get every dollar that he thinks is worth and this and that. But what will the culture be in Utah? And will they be able to win if everybody thinks that way? I just don't. It's the way the system is structured. It's a difficult thing. I don't begrudge any player for going to get as much as they possibly can. They owe it to themselves and even their colleagues to a degree to up the value of what players are worth around the league. But if you want to win, there is a thing called the salary cap. And even if the money goes up, like Kent Hughes said verbatim, the structure hasn't changed. The teams have control for the first 7 years or till a player is 25 when he gets in at 18, or the players have control when they get to those ages where they're unrestricted free agents or on the verge of becoming them. So that's how the system has to be used from a management perspective and from a team perspective, from a player's perspective. So this is the way it worked out. I mean, I look at some other teams. Toronto, would anybody begrudge some of the players that were there that took the money that they did and the deals that they did, not only coming out of entry level, but on the second go around? No. But do they have a team, or have they, over the last number of years, had more of a collection of players? Like, it's a delicate balance. They haven't won. Maybe that's the reason, maybe it isn't, but I think it's related.
All right. Okay. Let's, now that we have the contract out of the way, and by the way, a lot of the commentary you heard today was from Kent Hughes, and we're going to save a couple of Lane Hutson clips, and we're going to sprinkle them in here and there over the next week or so. Also want to remind you all, if you're unaware, that we are now 6 shows under our belt with Le Sick Podcast en français, which goes Monday to Friday at 10 a.m., where we talk a lot of Montreal Canadiens with different collaborators than you'll see on the Sick Podcast in English. But we also talk about a lot of Montreal sports, a lot of sports in the province of Quebec, whether it's amateur, whether it's professional. It's mostly professional. We talk a lot about a lot of Montreal sports teams, whether it's the Canadiens, whether it's the Alouettes in football, whether it's CF Montreal in soccer. Earlier today, I talked about the Toronto Blue Jays, for example. And speaking of the Alouettes, they played earlier today at Percival Molson. It was a 1 p.m. game. And so we give you the opportunity to call in as well. Some of the guests come in studio. We do it from a different studio, which is in Ville Saint-Laurent, a couple of blocks from the IKEA that's there. So, just want to let you all know that if you understand French, and even if you don't, it'll give you an opportunity to understand it by listening and watching. So we hope that you can come on over and be a part of that community as well. Speaking of community, sports commentary doesn't stop at the buzzer, and neither does Cafe Milano, a true community cornerstone in Saint-Léonard with buzzing spots in Laval and Pointe-Claire. They're serving up banger sandwiches, my personal favorite being the sausage sandwich, with spicy marinated eggplants, vibrant salads bursting with flavor, and lattes and espressos that keep the energy high through overtime. Throw in a cannoli or two, and every bite is a highlight. Join the locals at Cafe Milano, and because winning tastes better. And once again, Cafe
Tony,
Milano,
they make salads too, and I know you're eating those more than you are sandwiches right now.
You know what? I love the sausage sandwich, but I got to tell you, last week I had, on 3 different occasions, 3 days last week, I had the salad with steak bits in it as well. So a steak salad. It was absolutely fantastic. All right, okay. I want to bring up a chart. It's an advanced stat chart that shows two lines on the Montreal Canadiens. And I'd love to get your opinion. I mean, a lot of is positive right now. The Canadiens have won 2 of 3 games. They opened up their season, like you said, versus 3 teams that were playing their home opener. They lost in Toronto on Wednesday. They won Thursday night in Detroit and won by a score of 3-2 on Saturday versus the Chicago Blackhawks, with Caden Gooley scoring the game-winning goal with less than 16 seconds to go in that hockey game. Eric, the line that has the lowest expected goals for in the entire National Hockey League after only 3 games, there's nothing to worry about because the line that has the 6th lowest expected goals for in the league is the line of Kyle Connor and Gabriel Velarde and Mark Scheifele. So I guess, if they're in this situation, you don't have to worry too much. But I'll ask you anyway, are you worried about the line of Evans, Anderson, and Laine, who statistically have the lowest percentage of expected goals for in the entire National Hockey League at 0.1, and the line of Newhook, Kapanen, and Demidov, who have the second lowest at 0.3?
Yeah. The thing about going over advanced stats, and these ones don't lie, they certainly match the eye test, is sample size. And this sample size is quite small. And the context of it, obviously, is 3 games on the road, opening up 3 different buildings, 3 games in 4 nights back-to-back involved there. Let's see where this is at after 4 home games, which are about to take place, right? They're on a homestand.
Yes.
Do I love the Laine Evans-Anderson line? Not particularly, and mostly because I think there is a way for that line to really work, but for that line to really work, the players on it have to do how it's designed to work. Like, I think about Patrick Laine, who has made better decisions with the puck at 5-on-5, but one of the really good decisions he can make with the puck at 5-on-5 is taking the puck and lobbing it in the air down Anderson's wing. Because the whole thing that makes Anderson go is unleashing him and letting him just go, to the point where if he goes offside, you accept that. Let him fly. Go. Because if he gets a head start to a puck, he's going to win it. And if he gets even close to a guy he's battling with for the puck, he's going to win that one too. So I think there's an optimized way of using Anderson that Christian Dvorak and Brendan Gallagher did to great effect last year, which was, as soon as we get the puck, you take off, we'll get the puck in the general vicinity of which direction you're going in, and then put ourselves in the positions where we can A, cycle it, and B, take advantage of shooting options. If Laine does that, if he throws a puck in Anderson's corner and lets him go hunt it down and puts himself in a shooting position, whether the next puck goes to Jake or goes to him, he's going to get a good opportunity to score a goal. That would really be effective. Jake himself has to do that. He's been saddled with some serious defensive responsibility on that line.
Yeah.
But all 3 of them can play better, and all 3 of them, more importantly, can play better together. The Demidov, Newhook, Kapanen line, I mean, one of the things that kind of screws with those numbers also is the fact that they had 10 power plays on Saturday, right? It screwed with everybody's ice time, the rhythm of the game in general. So that's why you don't read too much into a sample size. What you can say, though, is that if this doesn't change over the next couple games or the next 4 in total, I don't think these lines are permanent, Tony, and I don't think you would opt to keep them together for much longer if things don't look drastically different at home. Would you agree with that?
I would agree.
Yeah. I mean, even looking at the line of Doc, Bolduc, and Gallagher, which we've seen a lot of good things from, I'm not opposed to Martin St. Louis taking an element from there, mixing in his other 2 lines. He might keep 3 duos together and move 3 wingers around those lines to find better results with all 3. But it's 3 games. They played relatively well, although the numbers are not as favorable as what it looks like on the ice at 5-on-5. I thought that they played 3 really good games at 5-on-5. The third one, obviously, was much more special teams focused than any other. But it doesn't mean they can't get better results at 5-on-5 and a better process. And that might mean mixing some things around.
You talked about the Canadian schedule. Once again, they'll open up at home tomorrow night when they host the Seattle Kraken, who, by the way, last year at the end of October came to Montreal and scored 8 on the Canadiens. It was one of their worst performances of the season, probably their worst, the one where they lost 9-2 to Pittsburgh. They were down 3-2 going into the third and lost 9-2. Wasn't better. But anyway, so we'll see if maybe they got redemption on their minds. Also, memory serves me well, I think they lost a game in overtime in Seattle too last year. But anyway, long story short, they'll host Seattle tomorrow night. They host Nashville on Thursday night. They'll host the New York Rangers on Saturday night, and then they'll host the Buffalo Sabres next week on Monday.
It's a really lame, home opening schedule. 4 games where there isn't much of an emotional attachment to any of it. So we'll see.
And then they're going on that West Coast trip, right? When on the Wednesday and 9 days from now, they're going to be in Calgary. The next night they're going to be in Edmonton. A couple nights after that, they're going to be in Vancouver. Talk about being tired. That's going to be 3 games and 4 nights again on the road. And then in 15 days from now, they're going to be in Seattle on a Tuesday night when they're going to visit the Kraken. So the Canadiens' month of October will be your first 3 games and 4 nights on the road, then 4 games in 1 week at home, then 4 games in 1 week on the road, and the first 3 being 3 games in 4 nights. So it's kind of a little bit of a crazy schedule in that respect, but at least there's no road, home, road, home, road. It's almost better to do road, home, road. And there you have it, like a stretch.
It's going to be hard for everybody. I will tell you, though, that for me personally, going to Calgary, Edmonton, and Vancouver in October rather than December or January is a real blessing. I could tell you that.
I would imagine, yes. Get out of the way right away, huh? Let's go. Let's do that right away.
Don't need to freeze my ass off in Western Canada.
Hey, Eric, on Saturday night, I'm going to be watching the third period of the Canadiens and the Rangers. I would imagine that you'll be at the Bell Center, but I'll be watching the third period at Winnie's, Sir Winston Churchill Pub, serving all your favorites and more since 1969. Enjoy Chef Jack's inspired and timeless gastropub fare. Winnie's Pub open late. The best 5 cassette in Montreal, the place to cheer on the Alouettes and the Habs, downtown Montreal's headquarters for everything from F1 to Les Glorieux always. And you can join me on Saturday, October 18, for the Canadiens versus the Rangers game at 7 p.m. Once again, I'll be there for the third period for sure with a live post-game show following the game from me as well in English. And there will be a Habs ticket giveaway that night. So if you want to join me on Saturday night at Sir Winston Churchill Pub at 1455 Crescent Street, for all of you watching, I'd love to watch the game with you. As a matter of fact, if I get a lot of response in the comments from people saying that they're going to be there to watch the game with me and they're going to go there right at the beginning of the game, well, instead of going to the Bell Center to watch the first 2 periods and then coming over for the third period, I'll actually join you and we'll watch the entire game together. So I hope to see you there, and I hope you all stick around for the post-game show as well. And Eric, if you have some time on your hands and you want to drop by and say hello, by all means, consider it an invitation, my friend.
Okay.
Thank you for doing this. In the end, it's over. It's done with. 8 years, $8.5 million. Great for the Canadiens. Great for Hutson. Great for him because, once again, $55 million is signing bonuses, which will only probably be taxed about 25% between, here in the province and where his home residence is. So he ends up making more money in the end. Everyone's happy. No one more happier than the Montreal Canadiens fan base, because let's take a look at a graphic here that we put up regarding the core and who's under contract. Take a look at that, huh? They're all under contract long-term. Dobson, Suzuki, Caden Gooley, Slavkovsky, Caulfield, and now Lane Hutson. Nick Suzuki until 2030. Cole Caulfield until 2031. Same for Caden Gooley. Slavkovsky and Noah Dobson expire in 2033, and Lane Hutson expires in 2034. Between now and then, let's hope for a couple of Stanley Cups. Eric Engels, thanks so much, my man. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care, Tony.
If you like the podcast today, leave us a 5-star review on Apple. It's our way of feeling the love. Once again, we apologize for certain microphone issues that we had with Eric, and Agnello sent me a note. We're going to try and get him a microphone as soon as possible. Isn't that good news? Along with the contract signing, of course. For Shane Gaumont and Master Control, thanks everyone for watching, and I hope you had a great Canadian Thanksgiving earlier today. We'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same place. Actually, I'll be back tomorrow morning in French, en français, à 10h le matin. same channel. We're trying to, bring the two solitudes together, and we'll be back tomorrow night in English after the Canadiens and the Seattle Kraken. And of course, the Sick Podcast tomorrow night in English will start at 10 p.m. Leave us a 5-star review. We appreciate it. Follow us on YouTube. Spread the word. The Sick Podcast ranked number 6 in Canada today for all sports podcasts, or all hockey podcasts, pardon me, in the country. We're ranked number 6 today, and we can't do it without you. Thank you very much. Ciao for now. I'll be back tomorrow night. Same time, same place. I'm Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. Bittt, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.